Good day to all of you. My name is Barton Goldenberg, and I'm delighted to welcome you to a continuation of the Digital Transformation video series with my distinguished colleague, Paul Greenberg. Today's topic is digital transformation challenges. And what I'd like to do is lay out some of the challenges that I feel people have in properly implementing a digital transformation program. And then my distinguished colleague, Paul, will comment on those and add some of his own. So let's start with the definition. An effective digital transformation creates new business models and culture that leverages digital technologies both to improve the customer experience and to create new ways for customers to engage with your business however and whenever they like. So let's take this apart for a minute. Creating new business models and culture. Now that in itself within most corporations is a huge challenge because they get stuck or used to their own business models. They have a certain culture in how they like to do business or have done business, and now all of a sudden they're being asked to be culturally different. And then we talk about leveraging digital technologies to improve the customer experience. Lots of questions get asked like, what kind of digital technologies? How do we measure the customer experience? How do we make sure the technology matches with customer expectation? And all of that is a challenge in itself. And finally, if we are going to leverage these technologies to create new ways for customer to engage with your business, however and whenever they like, that suggests we actually know what our customers like and how they like it and when they want to, have information and talk with us. And that in itself is a challenge. So despite the digital transformation definition being straightforward and clean, within the digital transformation definition, we have some tremendous challenges. But I want to finish today's presentation on 5 specific challenges related to digital transformation. Challenge number 1, executive confidence. In the latest surveys that I've been able to read, less than 33%, less than 1/3 of all executives actually believe their digital strategy is right. And in fact, Paul's going to probably pick up on that and put into question whether the digital strategy exists in the first place. Challenge number 2, required skill set. Less than 21% of the executives actually believe they have the right people in place to set or create their digital strategy. Well, if you don't have the right people in place, you can't get there from here. And number 3, failure rates. In fact, about 85% or more of digital transformation initiatives are currently failing to deliver expected results. It reminds us of the old days when Paul and I started the CRM industry, and we had these rates that were not very impressive. Today, of course, we're doing much better in CRM, but we're at the beginning with digital transformation, and a lot of companies are plowing in money, vendors are selling equipment or software, and it doesn't always pan out to the way it should be. Challenge number 4, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is in bite-sized chunks. And yet companies take on digital transformation like, I'm going to eat the whole elephant at once. Well, that doesn't work. So what we got to really think about is, how do we lay out our digital transformation effort? How do we use bite-sized chunks? And many people use agile implementation approaches to ensure that we are managing our implementation of digital transformation effectively. Challenge number 5, and the final challenge, a lack of a digital transformation game plan. And in my mind, that really talks about things like, do we have a customer-centric focus? Have we done digital customer journeys? Do we have customer insight? Is the customer experience understood, and are we focusing on that experience? So are we really customer-centric so that as we deliver digital transformation, we're driving the customer experience, we're driving customer engagement, satisfaction, loyalty, etc. And the second part of that game plan should be something around leveraging the building blocks of a digital transformation. And in my opinion, there are 5 building blocks that I'd like to talk about very briefly. One is customer engagement. So that's a customer journey and the customer surveys and omni-channel management. And have we really thought through, and Paul, of course, is the guru on the whole customer engagement, but have we thought through, are we engaging our customers effectively? Does the game plan talk about leveraging the customer engagement? On the data analytics side, that's really the foundation for digital transformation. If we don't have the data on our customers and what they like and what they don't like, how can we possibly engage them and drive the good customer experience? Social community is another core building block of digital transformation. That's the listening post. to listen to how our customers feel about doing business with us, what they like and what they don't like, and are we capturing that customer insight and using that again to create an effective game plan for our digital transformation. CRM, an important component of digital transformation, where we house the customer profile, where we can leverage that profile to go back out and deliver the next best product or something that the customer would like to have in their dealings with us. And also the fifth and final building block, that of emerging technologies. And here we're talking about new and exciting ways to engage customers and to drive that customer experience excellence in such a way that they want to be a part of our digital transformation. Well, Paul, that's my take on some of the challenges of digital transformation, both within the digital transformation definition as well as the 5 that I've just laid out. But, that's just my thoughts, and I'd be very interested, Paul, in do you think I'm making sense, and how might you want to comment or add to those?
Well, look, you're obviously making a lot of sense. I think people tend to misinterpret what digital transformation really is, which that's actually a component of a much larger business transformation that has to go on at a company in order to affect customer engagement well. And it's almost as simple as that at some level. And I think your original definition really goes to that heart. Ultimately, think of it this way. If I'm interested in, as a primary reason for my digital engagement effort for customer engagement, then there are a number of things I have to do. And by the way, just to be clear, back in as far back actually as 2014, McKinsey came out with a survey on companies engaged in digital transformation efforts. And the number one reason, by a long shot, 69% of the respondents said that the reason for that effort was to engage their customers better. Simple as that. And that, if you actually see that as your primary reason for accomplishing digital transformation in your company, you have to realize the implications of that, because they're pretty extensive. And they go to a lot of the issues that you're talking about. And the biggest challenge really is going to be the culture change that it entails, because ultimately it's not just a matter of what technologies you use to enable effective engagement, whatever digital technologies they may be, but it's also, how am I as an individual employee empowered to do that? What am I going to have to learn as an employee to make this happen? How are you going to compensate me as an employee because I'm successful at it, because, I'm a person too? And what parts of the relationship to the customer can actually be, let's call it, can create how can engagement be digital, and how much has to still be human to human, analog, quote unquote. I mean, you have to define all of those things, and those are big challenges. And there's a tendency to rush to the digital transformation bandwagon right now, which is everyone's doing it, so I'm going to do it too. Now, to one of your big points, which was that less than 33% of the executives believe their digital strategy is correct. Well, one of the reasons they believe that, or less than 33% believe that, is because it's not even clear whether they have a digital strategy. Ultimately, they may have a technology strategy, and that's useful and valuable. You need one, but there's a lot of other things that you have to put in place before you ever get to that. And ultimately, you're going to have to sit down and you're going to have to define frameworks, and you're going to have to define strategies, larger strategies, digital transformation strategy based on engagement strategies. You're going to have to define programs. You're going to have to redefine your culture. You're going to have to look at how the processes that you're using at your company affect the transformations that you're looking for. But for example, around engagement, if you're looking at it at that level, let's say, Bruce Temkin and company, Bruce is now working at SAP, used to be at Qualtrics, and prior to that, of course, was one of the leading experience analysts in the world. Used to do a survey every year when he was running Temkin and company, the Temkin group, which was service interactions and who's really good at it and who's really bad at it, right? And ultimately, number one would be, say, USAA or something like that. Number 150 would be Comcast. It was kind of depended from what year it was. But The one thing that was always interesting is if you dug deep and you start talking to Bruce, you'd find out something very particular, which was that 90 to 98% of all service interactions, and pretty much every study out there supports this, are just queries. They're simply questions like, how do I return this? How do I get an RMA? You know, what do I do to do this? And it's not complaints, it's not praise, it's just questions. The reality is, if you're looking at digital transformation, there's a boring aspect of it, which is, process automation. It's simple, old school process automation, which is 90 to 95% of those interactions or queries. Well, most of them can be answered. Where they become part of a digital transformation effort, though, is that, one, they have to be done in real time now, and two, they have to be able to account for the medium that the customer wants to be communicated in, where in the past that wasn't really a big issue. So, for example, if I send an email that says, hey, I want you to send me my RMA number on text it to me on my phone, I don't expect you to hit reply to email and send it to me that way. I expect to get it as a text. That can all be automated, but it has to be automated in real time. It has to be automated at scale, and that's where digital transformation, robotic process automation, I think Horses for Sources is calling it integrated. So I forget what they're calling it, integrated something process. But one way or the other, those things now have to be accounted for in real time actively, but it also that enables customer engagement more successfully and allows you to free up time for humans. So that's part of a strategy. That's part of a program. Yes, sir.
I think this is tremendous insight. I want to just repeat for our guests some of the core points you've made. And number one, he's made a very clear point that digital transformation is not about technology, but a business transformation. And it has a big cultural component where you have to really ready both the internal staff as well as the customers and or members of the distribution channel to think and do things differently. He's talked about the great importance of customer engagement being the core reason why we do digital transformation. And he's talked about some of the other challenges we all find as we do our digital transformation. I'm going to purposely bring this to a close and like to suggest, folks, if you feel that what Paul has and I have talked about might be relevant for your business, give Paul or I a call. We can potentially give you guidance to successfully deliver your digital transformation initiative. And with that, I want to say thank you, Paul, and we'll look forward to our next recording, which we're going to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, how best to tackle a successful digital transformation project. Thank you.